Good morning and welcome to the Camnet Community Breakfast Show today, 5th April 2022. It is a beautiful Tuesday and I hope you're having a wonderful morning out there. My name is Ipora Mshala and I'm joined by my co-host Alex Shimba. Today we have some very interesting topics for you. So at 7:30 we're going to open the phone lines and talk about the increase in bus fares. As you saw yesterday, the new bus fares were announced by the Road Transport and Safety Agency. We saw, as well as other stakeholders, they made that announcement yesterday on the adjusted bus fares. And at 8 hours, we're going to talk about education and employment opportunities for persons with disabilities. And we're going to be joined by a disability rights advocate, Dr. Thomas Mutonga, who's also a lecturer for special education at the University of Zambia. So I'm joined by my co-host Alex Shimba, as I said. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. Quite a wonderful morning today, Tuesday. And obviously, like I always say, it's my pleasure being on site with you. And good morning to our viewers out there, those who are following us on this platform and also on Facebook while we're streaming live. It's a good morning to you, and I hope that we're going to have a good and marvelous interaction this morning.
Yes, definitely. And Alex, where can I appeal you to this morning?
Yeah, morning boat for us. I mean, what else apart from the keeping ourselves fit? And we hope we're going to also follow us as we join Mr. Isaac on this morning boat, just to keep us fit.
Good morning and welcome to our morning breakfast, and this is the Morning Boost, and I am your presenter Isaac Matsa. I am here so that we can be able to do a warm-up exercise together just before you go about your day. Alright, as usual, we are going to start with a warm-up. There we go, warm-up. 1 minute warm-up. After that, we'll be able to do some mountain climbers. Just that. For a minute. Let's go. How was your night? Say something so that we know where you're watching us from. If you're watching via Facebook, let's go. By the way, this is what I'm doing. See that? That's the workout altogether. You're going to feel your calves actually. You're going to feel your legs. 1 minute warm up. Let's go. And let's change to the warm up. That. Trotting. Go. 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 Down with the warm up. Getting into a wake up now. Let's go. Faster. Faster. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. That's it. Today, we're going to do something different. Let's do this now. Go down. Lay flat. It's a 3-minute workout. Bring in your leg out, in, out, okay? In, out, out. That's the workout you're going to do now. So you come here, go down, body posture like that. Let's go. 1, 2. Let's work on the tummy. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's your first 10. So I'm going to do another 10. Let's go. Same thing. Down, straight up, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you're doing it correctly, you're going to feel your arms. 10. Okay. So that's 20. I have 2 more sets. Remember, just 5 minutes every morning. That's all you need. Okay, third set, let's go. 1, 2, 3. You should feel your arms. 4. And the belly. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's my third set. I'm gonna do the fourth one now. So that's gonna be 40. So I'm working on the tummy, also strengthening my arms. Let's go, last 10. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 40. So I've worked on my triceps and biceps, burning fat on the arms and the tummy as well. Okay, so the same workout. This time I'm going to do it faster. Remember, it's a 3 minutes workout. Okay, so I'm good. 1 minute now. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, let's cool down. So try that. After you come back home, try to do those workouts. And they're going to work out for you perfectly. So this is very good for you every time you do that. So let's do now a cooling down now. Easy. Easy. You've done the workout already. Easy. Thank you so much. This is Isaac Matsa, and I'm going to see you again. Stay blessed and stay fit. Thank you.
Welcome back to our breakfast show, and I hope you are following Mr. Isaac. When I like the way he finishes, when it goes slow, like easy, like to make you relaxed and everything. Zipporah, were you doing that? Especially the last part is my favorite. After you are tired and then it calms you down. Easy, take a rest, and you know, it's quite an awesome segment. It's my favorite. Should mention. And I hope our viewers out there were following us, just in terms of keeping ourselves fit. So right about now, we'll go to another segment, which is, as usual, the health segment with Dr. Kalwanyango, who is going to join us to just shed more information also on penile cancer. And yesterday we were looking at the topic, which is also something that is taking a lot of interest in the health fraternity, and that is prostate cancer. But now we continue on that specific topic of penile cancer with this Dr. Nyango on this same platform. Please pay attention so that you can actually get one or two things on this particular topic. Stay tuned.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Kalwanyango, and I'm a urologist. I'm based at UTH in the Department of Surgery, and I'm also found at Muti Kabelenga Hospital. So today we are going to talk about penile cancer. So what is penile cancer? Penile cancer is simply cancer of the penis. It is one of the most neglected cancers in our setting because of the health-seeking behavior. In the developed world, it is fairly uncommon and usually presents in older men in the 60th decade of life. However, in the developing world, especially in Africa, Southeast Asia, and South America, penile cancer is relatively common in the population, with countries such as Uganda reporting penile cancer as one of the most common cancers. So, what are the risk factors for penile cancer? So, the risk factors for penile cancer include phimosis. So, what is phimosis? Phimosis is simply failure of the foreskin to retract. Another risk factor for penile cancer is chronic inflammation of the penis, of the foreskin, a condition that can be seen in conditions such as lichen sclerosis. This is where there is a hypopigmentation of the penis. So what other risk factors are there for penile cancer? So the other risk factors include ultraviolet radiation and also lack of circumcision. In this case, it is neonatal circumcision. Neonatal circumcision offers protection against penile cancer. Any circumcision beyond the neonatal period does not offer protection against penile cancer. So what are the other risk factors? The other risk factor for penile cancer is presence of the human papilloma virus. That is mainly 16 and 18. However, note that there is no association between the presence of penile cancer in a partner and the presence of cervical cancer in the same in the female partner. Other risk factors for penile cancer include low socioeconomic status, multiple sexual partners, and being unmarried. So, how does penile cancer present? So, penile cancer will usually present with a lesion on the foreskin or the glands, which is the tip of the penis. These are some of the most common places where penile cancer will present. So you find that someone might have an ulcer or what appears like a wart. So all lesions on the penis should be treated with suspicion and medical advice should be sought as quickly as possible. So, how do we make a diagnosis of penile cancer? So, remember that most penile cancer arises from the foreskin or the glands. So, a diagnosis of penile cancer will be made on the basis of biopsy. So, this could be an excision biopsy where you remove the whole lesion in order to determine whether what you're dealing with is penile cancer or not. So how do you manage penile cancer? So the management of penile cancer is also dependent on the stage, the point at which you catch it. For example, if the penile cancer is found early enough and is just localized to, it's just a small lesion, we can use what we call local therapies, such as 5-fluorouracil, that's a chemotherapeutic agent, a drug that is used. So if the lesion is very small and it is localized, such treatments can be used if the penile cancer is found early. Other options also include radiotherapy, and all this should go with circumcision. The patient should be advised to get a circumcision. So if the penile cancer involves a large part of the glands, that is the head of the penis, then we do what we call a either a glanzectomy. So a glanzectomy is where you resect that part of the glands, or you remove the glands in order to prevent the spread of the penile cancer. One thing of note here is that penile cancer, if caught in the early stages, is one of the cancers that is curable. So beyond this, if you have a cancer that has spread, depending on the extent of spread, you can do what is called a partial penectomy. That is where part of the penis is cut off in order to prevent the progression of the cancer. If the penile cancer is advanced, you now go on to do what you call a total penectomy, that is total removal of the penile tissue. Remember that if you do procedures such as partial penectomy and total penectomy, this can have a huge psychological impact on the patient, and it is mutilating to the patient. And that is why it is important to treat any lesions that appear on the penis with the utmost urgency and not to delay seeking medical advice. On that note, I end my short talk on penile cancer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nyangu, for that quite profound information, and we hope that our viewers out there were getting everything that was being taught and everything that was being said in that particular segment. So we just remind everyone that this segment of health is up for grabs in terms of just publicity and also visibility for your company, so you can actually jump on it and take advantage of this opportunity to just sponsor the segment, and yeah, you're good to go like that as a company. Talking about sponsoring a segment, the next one also, the money market, is up for grabs, and you can do the likewise in terms of just sponsoring the segment. So right about now, we jump right into the money market and see what the figures are today in terms of just the exchange rate as far as kwacha is concerned. So the United States dollars is buying at 17 kwacha point 42 ngwe and selling at 17 kwacha point 76 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 22 kwacha point 83 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha point 28 ngwe. The Euro is buying at 18 kwacha point 89 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha point 26 ngwe. South African Rand is buying at 1 kwacha point 19 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha point 22 ngwe. Yeah, so in case you are preparing for any business venture, any business out there, that's how the kwacha looks like as of today. Yeah, any comment on that? Any observation?
No, I think we've just seen like some bit of maintenance on the US dollar
on
to the kwacha, 17, buying at 17, selling at 17. Of course, with some ways at the end.
Yeah, so there you have it. It's a power.
Yes, and now just moving into zooming the headlines, and Alex, yesterday we saw Minister of Local Government and Rural Development going home actually make a statement warning people who are in the habit of parking on roads, not just here in Lusaka, but across the country, since he's the minister of the whole country.
Indeed.
Warning bus and taxi drivers who've got a habit of parking on the road instead of bus stations. they were being warned and told to get off the streets. And according to RATA, that's Road Transport Safety Agency, they said people who park on roads risk getting the road service licenses suspended if they're found in the act. But then really, one of the questions people have been asking is, are there enough bus stations? Are there enough bus stations really
to accommodate all the buses?
So that's really the question, because this is now the same issue with the street vendors, where
yes,
the street we've got the same on Moalen Market, which has not even yet been commissioned.
That's on Lusaka.
And, yes, for Lusaka. And so people are being told to get off the streets, and so now people are asking, if you tell us, so that's for this, it's the same issue like the street vendors, and now it's for the bus drivers. So they're also asking, where do you want us to go? And yesterday, at the press briefing, we asked Mr. Garinkombo, and he said the ministry is trying to identify some bus stations and also maybe engage with private bus stations to make sure that these people have space. But really, people's concern is they want to be shown space before they can be chased. Yes, and so today we're expecting an operation by the Ministry of Local Government. Yes, which actually began around 7 hours. Anyway, that was according to the minister yesterday, where he said beginning 7 hours, 5th April, they're going to be going around Lusaka City to just set an example to other bus and taxi drivers across the country. So we're expecting that item today. Okay. So we can just take a look at that story on illegal parking, and then we'll discuss more when we're back. The United Party for National Development, UPND, has come strong on restoring sanity to central business districts, CBDs of various towns and cities, a commitment which has been shown by the constant sending away of street vendors from the streets. The Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development has now issued a warning to bus and taxi drivers who have been parking in undesignated places, such as roads. Addressing the media Monday, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. Garinkombo, says the move is not political, but that it is simply aimed at restoring sanity. In this vein, Mr. Nkombo says his ministry will, on Tuesday, 5th April 2022, conduct an assessment on the situation of buses and taxis in Lusaka CBD.
The above can never continue unabated. I therefore would like to direct all local authorities working with relevant stakeholders. In this case, the Zambia police are here, the RATs are here, the bus drivers themselves, the bus operators, the owners of taxis, to ensure that there's complete compliance to the law. This is the very final discussion of this nature, and as from tomorrow, starting tomorrow, I myself, together with my colleagues from RATSA and Zambia Police, will be in the CBD. To be specific, we will be in Freedom, starting from 7 o'clock in the morning, or maybe even earlier, to make sure that maybe some who may have missed this news item may want to conduct themselves as business as usual.
Speaking at the same event, Minister of Transport and Logistics, Mr. Frank Tayali, has called on police officers to intensify patrols around CBDs.
Going forward, we shall not allow any public service vehicle to cause obstruction on the road by way of loading or offloading passengers on undesignated bus stations. This implies that no vehicle, be it private or public service vehicles, will be allowed to load or offload on or off the road within the CBD. Thus, all roads such as Cairo, Chachacha, and Freedom Way, among others, are not to be used for loading and offloading of passengers.
Road Transport and Safety Agency RATSA Director and CEO Mr. Gladwell Banda says perpetrators could have their road service licenses suspended. Meanwhile, Lusaka Mayor Her Worship Chilando Chitangala says the Lusaka City Council LCC is also trying to bring sanity by ensuring that mobile money booths are placed in designated places.
Minister, will start also with our organizing of booths. We want to tell the booth people that we're not chasing them as to stop for business, but organizing them, that we take them to places where facilities are nearby and also where they can trade properly and not obstructing people that are driving.
Bus and taxi driver unions have been advised to ensure that their members comply to lay down regulations if to avoid being found on the wrong side of the law. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Quite interesting story, and I've noticed something. It's about sanity and restoring sanity in the CBD, and also the mayor has talked about the booths. Is that really attainable? Because they're quite a lot.
Okay, because you know, according to the law, if you are going to put up a booth, you have to actually go to ZRA, you go to PACRA, register your business,
Indeed.
and then you go to the council so they can give you like a
place where
operating and the place where to actually put. So most people just wake up, maybe buy a booth from someone else and continue selling, and they don't want to be told where to put the booth, because for them that are getting roads, they want places where people are moving. So really, if you're looking at the legal side, when the council says they want to act on those booths, they're actually acting within the confines of the law, but then it's the issue of people.
Yeah, the livelihood of people.
For example, if you are told to go and put
those are
booths
businesses.
in Kalundu, why are you going to put
Yeah, but anyway, keyword she mentioned is near to the trading centers. So
and correct facilities like toilets.
Yeah, maybe it could be a place. I don't know how it's gonna be, but it could be one place of just, you know, mobile money booths.
You can imagine the
and
competition.
Yes, that's a point. The competition in that premise. So yeah, we hope to see that this story to come to the conclusion so that we can even take a look on how best the council intends to go about that. Yeah, there's another story that we did yesterday involving the workers, casual workers for Siltec engineering services, and they are protesting. Apparently, they have been the company has not paid them for about 2 months. Initially, it was 5 months, but they serviced their arrears like should be the day before yesterday, but they only paid them for 3 months, and the rest 2 months is not covered. So they were furious yesterday, and they just said, no, enough is enough. We're just not going to work without the money. So they were pressuring the company, and the company actually came through, you know, to just, you know, give their part of the story, and they explained what things are affecting, even the delayment in payments. And maybe before we just spoil the story, let's just take a look at how this story went by, and we'll get to discuss it further.
They call it a day and choose down as they declare enough of rendering their services without pay. These are some of Siltec Engineering Services casual workers who have staged a protest demanding for payment of 2 months arrears. They complain, accusing the company not being up to date with the payments.
Turasebeza mezi 5 months, so wanatuletera kondarama ya 2 months. Manje 2 months yakayeneyo watupasa ndarama 1,500 mu 2 months. So madandero etwatandaura manje mwezi umozi tusebezera 750 kwacha etwakana chabata kansi bosi tumufuna atuletere ndarama zatu yose
tusungeko tu bana naite tunatubana bao bana baenda ku masukuru ise batu bana saenda ku masukuru ungachetekera panoro ni 3 months 4 months or 6 months kapena bazani pasako yo konkolo kandalama mpamena bora mkutupasa 1.5
inene karibu randirakwa so chimene nifuna ni ndalama yanga yainoti anipase so apaniri sinisebenza uniform yao nino nilinayo napambakati mwanipasa ndalama nzabulesa kukupasana uniform yanu.
Among other issues is a lack of proper equipment for their type of job.
Dabwiza mungala bakiti magalu majombo tribe ma gloves tribe ndrama sitifola yokwana sote funa ndrama zasu watipase yokwana amenti napanga nirana.
Meanwhile, representing the company, Siltec foreman Albert Kamboi has attributed the delay to lack of financing as the company relies on government funding.
On that part, I am talking from the company Siltec here, this position, and the other part is, you know, is government. It's the one, National Road Fund is government. So they may say we will be paying them next month, the other month, but they are these delayments. So we don't likely, you usually like to promise the exact date, because when you tell them we'll be paying you next week, they will come on that very date. But as long as we are together, we've told them, as long as we're together, our main aim is to do away with the arrears so that we can start moving on the same page. But come June, we will have no arrears, I'm sure.
To answer if the company provides proper equipment to its workers, this is what he had to say.
What we use day in day out, like gloves, gumboots and worksuit. But maybe if you had met them, if you saw them, I'm tired, I'm almost tired now talking of putting on the correct PPE every time. You see them coming with a change, no, the uniform, I don't like the size and such. No, the gloves. Sometimes I do even send them off. You don't have gloves, how are you going to work such a work? So they are very equipped with the PPE. The problem is response from our workers.
But for these workers, they have vowed not to move any inch if not paid. Alex Shimba, Camnet News in Lusaka.
There you have it, a story from the casual workers apparently who were not being paid by Siltec Engineering Company. And the good part about it is we managed to get both sides of the story. So the company is saying they have not been being funded by government, which is quite delaying and also affecting the payment of their workers. What's your take? I mean, we've had these stories, Deborah, and we've covered a number of, especially the end of 2021 and also crossing over to 2022. We've seen a number of protests in terms of workers. What's really going on? If you can have a take on that before we get to another segment.
Yeah, so anyway, basically we've seen these continued protests, and these people have been indicating that they've gone to the Ministry of Labor, but have not really received the help that they thought or hoped to receive. And so really, usually the procedure when someone goes to the Ministry of Labor, at the end, if they say they have failed to reach a consensus with the employee, they'll just say, okay, now we'll take the matter to court. But really, people are hoping for more action from the Ministry of Labor to give some sort of assurance that they have someone to back them out there in case the labor rights are actually infringed. So that's really the concern on that part.
Okay, moving on. Some of the trending issues we're having on our set is the issue of increase in bus fares, and we're really opening our phone lines. Those who are watching us from this platform, the phone lines are scrolling on your screens. And for those on Facebook, we're actually live, and you can also drop your comment just right there in the comment section. I'll be able to review. So the question is, what is your take really on the increase of bus fares, considering that this comes immediately after the increase in fuel? The other day, the Energy Regulation Board did the adjustment of fuel prices, and in consequence of that, we're getting now to see the transport sector also being affected in terms of just adjusting the fare prices upwards. What is your take really on that subject, Zipporah?
And really, Alex, if you've noticed, okay, of course we have this approved bus fare, but I don't know if you've noticed, like, for example, if you get on a bus, sometimes you find that some bus drivers, maybe it was 7 kwacha or something.
First of all, are you assuming I get on the bus?
Not you, but we're talking about
Make it clear out there.
But maybe you do, but there's nothing wrong with the bus in the first place.
I won't say no, I won't say yes.
There's nothing wrong with the bus. Yes, but really the point is education. People should actually be educated and know how much the routes are, because most times people just hear it from the mouth of the conductor saying, this is now 10 kwacha, but are they really aware, like previously how much was it and how much has actually been increased? But the only one which I've seen which is consistent is maybe like from town to some place. But if you are, and then maybe from town, Alex, for example, here in Lusaka it was 13. I don't know about your area.
14.
But it was 14, meaning it's now 16 kwacha, because according to these new approved bus fares, we have Inter-mine copper belt with an increment of 5 kwacha, intercity an increment, Alex, of 15% to the bus fares.
Wow.
And we have copper belt local, an increment of 2 kwacha, Lusaka local. Oh, we
Where
have
they
a call
call.
before. Yeah.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
We just lost it.
Okay,
Kindly call
us
back,
back.
and make sure your TV set is the volume is reduced so that you can't have any feedback. Yes, you can go ahead.
Yes, and so I was saying Lusaka local an increment of 2 kwacha, so that means from 14 is now 16. And Lusaka per urban an increment of 5 kwacha. So I don't know when was the last time you went to a place such as Kafue? Like, are you aware about the current prices?
Cafe, not really. It's been a while.
It's been forever. But anyway, I remember there was a time when
massive
Kafue
trip.
was, is it 15 kwacha?
Lusaka Cafe, that is?
Yes, Lusaka Cafe. There was a time when Lusaka Cafe was actually 15, but I wonder how much it is now, really.
So, for those in the category like ours, those who ask for 5 kwaches, what happens now? It's 7?
Just
like,
you know, it's not 7. You walk.
Oh. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning, sir. Are you able to get us?
Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir. Your name and where you're calling us from?
You're speaking to Nyanga Brighton from Kapimposhi.
Yes, Mr. Brighton.
Yes. Well, I think I've got about 2 issues that I picked from there. The first one is concerning the video just shared. It's really sad to see all these people complaining about non-payment of their work that has been done. You see, there's need to have a serious introspection in our country, especially when it comes to these private employers. At the end of the day, I feel not much has been done by our labor ministry to take care of the needs of our workers whenever they get employed out there, especially when it comes to the private sector. To see people complaining like that, it really gives you a sad picture of what the situation is. That might not be the only group. There are so many groups out there that are facing such kind of problems.
Yeah.
It is not only people finances, like the last guy was explaining today, lack of finances because they depend on the government and so on. Some of them, they do it deliberately because they know that our labor laws are very weak. Or all the actions taken against the somebody that abrogates the right workers. No action, no serious action is taken against such people. I know what I'm talking about, and I've been exposed to bad conditions before. And that might not be the only group. There are so many people that are suffering out there. So what we need as a country, or what the government needs to do, is to ensure that they tighten the rules and regulations in the labor industry. Otherwise, we are in for a lot of problems as the local residents come to work for these different types of companies. Then, on the issue of transport and fuel, things are going to be bad. Yeah, a lot of things are going to increase, prices are going to increase. But maybe before we complain, let's wait and see what they are going to do. We give them a bit of some time and see what they are going to do. If a there is a solution to it, probably there is no solution. They are going to react. We react to our own views on the issue and the situation. But for now, I feel like it's so premature for us to be able to condemn, to speak all sorts of things because of the fuel and all that. I've seen others are even giving suggestions to say, quickly, can you bring back subsidies? Quickly, can you find ways you're going to keep fuel price? But at the end of the day, we have to try and look at it. What are the benefits that are going to come out after the removal of subsidies from these other kind of needs that we have in our country? What is it that we are going to that if there will be no benefit that we are going to see out of the removal of subsidies, and there is no need of removing subsidies, you have to put them back. So let's give them time. We see whatever solution they want to come up with as they scrap up with subsidies. Yes. Otherwise, that is my contribution this morning.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Brighton. We appreciate your comment. And quite profound information there. He says something important, like let's just wait first and observe circumstances unfold.
This reminds me of that press briefing where they said by June, when you asked them, actually asked a question at the press briefing saying, when do you expect to see prices of fuel stabilized? Because according to the UPND manifesto, you promised lower prices of fuel. And so that was Mr. Noah Nkoma, UPND Energy Committee member, saying by June, but really what guarantee do you have? And so let's wait for June.
And more especially, should be the part of the Energy Board Committee, right? The person he attributed it to the disturbances in Ukraine and Russia. But how sure is he that it's going to end by June? Like, has he seen possibilities of the war ending? But anyways, these are the things that we need. But thank God for Mr. Brighton, who has even brought us to another point of just, getting a little bit patient with the new administration so that we can see, maybe by mid-year, we can be able to see things getting to normalize. And yeah. So what's your call for you who's there listening to us and also watching us from various places? What's your take on this subject? What we're questioning, what's your take on the increase of bus fares, which was announced yesterday? So do call us and do your contribution, as it were. And also we're streaming live on Facebook. You can also drop your comment there and you'll be able to actually review it. Yeah.
Yes, and so Alex, one other thing that has brought concern really is about these monthly adjustments, because we've seen, so far we've just been seeing increases. And so really we've seen sentiments from maybe especially people in the political scene. And they're just expressing. Oh, we have a call.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Zipporah and Alex.
Yes, good morning. Can you tell us your name, where you're calling us from, and your contribution?
Yes, my TV is on mute right now.
All right.
Okay.
I'm calling you from Chingola. And now.
All right, can you go ahead with your contribution?
Yeah, I think the hike is well. The results are inevitable. We see the rise in transport in all commodities. So what we need to do as a country, like people have been blaming that the government has failed and all that. But we do not produce oil in Zambia. That's one thing that we should bear in mind. So we do not have control over international prices. And the government right now, in my own opinion, I think they are tied up. So as a country, we should be patient and not complaining everything, because we do not produce oil. We are going to hold them to ransom if we had some place in Zambia where we are producing oil. Then my major contribution is I think we need to have a regulatory body which will regulate prices of essential commodities. Because you enter this shop, you find millennial is at 180. The next shop, millennial is at 200 in the same area. So we need to have an association, I don't know if it exists, where they set up prices, where they start RASTA and the transport unions, they cut down and set transport prices. So even the prices of essential commodities like millennial, cooking oil, these that we use in homes, we need to have a board which will regulate. For millennial, at least increase this price. For cement, increase this price. Not you go to this shop, you find a different price. You go to, it's like each one will just set a price which is think of setting. So, you need to talk about that much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Naomi, for that quite profound comment. And we do note the fact that there should be, is there no body that regulates the prices, especially for the milling? I'm sure there is an association who does monitor prices and do, from the wholesale perspective, they do monitor prices.
But again, it is it's a liberalized economy.
Yeah, maybe it depends with the branding. When you enter in this shop, maybe they are selling, is it Pembe? Then the other one is selling National Milling. The other one is selling, you know, there is now Unza on board. And they will pay me for that advert. So those are the things that we should also consider in terms of just figuring how best we can normalize the prices.
Yes, we have the Zambia Consumer Association, that's ZACA, which actually takes into, which actually like tries to ensure that consumers are not being exploited.
Protected.
They speak out on issues which they feel are important, but really there's no one who can say sell like this because it's people's choice to buy from. Because if they
like I said, according to brands maybe.
Yeah, maybe even according to brands and also the packaging, maybe it's a 5 kg and all that, but really with the increase in transport costs, things are expected to go up, and it is a liberalized economy, really.
She also mentioned something like we do not produce oil in our country. We depend on other countries to you know, for us to import the oil, and so we can't really necessarily totally depend or maybe blame the government not keeping the prices, you know, at a more controllable state. But in this case, we're depending on other countries. So I think the situation is understandable according to her, and we should just exercise a little bit of patience, and then we get to observe how really things unfold. But of course, we have a different opinion on the same subject, and other people are like, no ways, you know, the government promised this. We saw them going, you know, from district to district, demonstrating on radio programs, demonstrating on TV programs, how best they can actually handle the economic status in our country. But how come them being in government, they are not getting, you know, all these things under their control? So basically, those are the arguments that we're getting. And we invite you really to do your analysis and give us what you feel is a way forward on the issue, on the subject that we're discussing today.
Yes, and so like I was saying earlier, Alex, now there have been questions arising saying will prices really reduce? Like, are we ever going to reach a time where prices are reducing significantly in line with the UPND manifesto with the constant adjustments? Because really people can't maybe maintain the same prices for a long time. So I find that maybe when there's a reduction, prices reduce. When there's an increment, prices increase. So really, these are the questions people are asking, saying in the current manifesto of the current administration, it stated that there will be a lower cost of living and all that. So really, the question is, with this constant adjustments, are we ever going to see that happen? So I think that's something which they have to answer for us.
Yeah, indeed. And it's about how people are managing to cope up with because we've seen the hiking, especially for bus fares, about twice now, if not 3 times. So do we see the ripple effect on the commuters themselves? Are they managing to actually get to cope with the prices? You find that people are now walking.
And you know, there's always that issue whereby commuters arguing with the conductor.
Yes.
When it was at 21 kwacha, I can just imagine now when it's at 26 with this official increment, how it's going to be.
Yeah.
But you find that consumers, also you know that consumers mostly put up their own prices. Of course, there's this price and the conductor will tell you, but okay, when you're coming from town and going somewhere, of course it's fixed. But if you're going from somewhere else, maybe going to town or just another place, you tend to just say,
to negotiate.
This, I'm going to go.
And you know, just on that,
I have to reach where I'm going. 5 kwacha here, 5 kwacha there.
I remember old days, the narrative was different, especially for the guys, the youth. They would be like, if at all you're approaching a certain bus, the conductor will see you maybe with a lady, a gentleman with a lady, and they're approaching the bus. The guy will be like, in my mind, I'm only paying a 5 kwacha going to town, you know. So for both of us, we're going to pay 10 kwacha. But then the conductor, seeing you that you are with a lady there, he wouldn't allow that. So when you give him a certain amount, it'll be like, will take advantage of you being with your friend. You understand? Because you can't argue in front of your, whatever, if it's your person, and you start arguing, no, I need my 5 kwacha change. You understand?
You can argue.
But nowadays, now I'm getting to this point.
Yes.
Nowadays, guys are arguing for that 5 kwacha. They don't care.
Even they're going, no conductor.
Yes, they don't care. And then the conductor will be like, but the madam.
So that just shows really how...
Yes, things are hard. Even our ladies should understand that things are hard. So when I'm asking for that 1 kwacha change, you just need to understand me. It's not like I'm poor or something, but I'm just,
Yeah, and so today we'll get to hear the views of commuters themselves.
It's a good story. We just need to get on board and find out what they are.
Yes, how they're actually managing with the increments, how is the situation for them, what they left to be done. I'm also going to hear from the Bus and Taxi Drivers Association, really what they think the long-lasting solution is to the same.
Indeed. Quite profound. And also just to get... last time when we interviewed the Commuters Association, he was complaining. Why is it that when there is the hike in fuel prices, immediately there is a consultative meeting, whatever they call it, from stakeholders to discuss how they go and increase the fares. But we don't see this when there is a slight reduction in fuel prices. We don't see the reduction in bus fares. Where do these meetings go? Probably they are nowhere to be seen, you understand? So they complained bitterly to say we should see the same thing happening when there is a reduction in fuel prices. Let's have the consultative meeting with stakeholders and let's revise the prices. So it's quite important that we do the same, the same thing you're doing when there's a hike, same thing you do when there's a reduction.
Yeah, so there's been really a lot of debate around this. And one of the other sentiments I've heard, Alex, is that there have been some suggestions that civil servant salaries should be increased given the hike. I don't know if you think that should be done.
Not just civil servants, even in the private sector. I mean...
given that especially this day we're going to have a reduction, do you think that should be... this time you have a reduction, you have an increment, and all that, like really, is this something that should be done given the fact that sometimes it reduces, sometimes it increases?
Yeah, because the argument is about you having a fixed, pay every month. So things are changing, but your pay is not changing. So I mean, where is logic there? So if at all we're going to have these prices change every month, I mean, it's just logical to also increase the salaries out there so that you can, correlate with the change of staff. I guess that should be considered.
Okay, and so moving on to our next segment, we are now going to be joined by Dr. Thomas Mutonga, who is a disability rights advocate and a lecturer for special education at the University of Zambia. And so basically we're looking at there equal education and employment opportunities for persons with disabilities, because there have been various concerns that, for example, in places like universities, these people, for example, say the University of Zambia, these people actually don't really have a place where they can learn conducively. For example, is there maybe braille writing for these people even in higher learning institutions? So really those have been the concerns, and so I want to hear more from Dr. Mutonga. And we're just going to play a story on disability technologies to hear what these people would like to be done for them. Recent years have seen significant improvements in technologies around the world, such as adding new features to mobile phones, apart from only texting and calling. New media technologies have become especially important in the current phase of the coronavirus, as most businesses and education opportunities have moved to the digital space. Persons with disabilities, however, feel that they have been left behind, as they still have to depend on traditional tools both for learning and mobility. A disability rights advocate, Dr. Thomas Mutonga, says it is in this vein that government should ensure availability of disability technologies, as is the case in other countries. Dr. Mutonga was speaking during a media briefing held Monday by the Zambia Agency for Persons with Disabilities, ZAPID.
We need to move as a country. We need to move, and we need to create, links, connections for our persons with disabilities, that they should be able to do everything that able-bodied individuals are doing. And that's why the Disability Act states that, on equal basis, they should be able to do things on equal basis like everybody else. And that's what we are looking for.
Meanwhile, ZAPID Acting Director General Mr. Nicholas Goma says Zambia needs to live up to international commitments aimed at ensuring inclusiveness for all citizens.
When you talk of some of our primary schools, yes, we are saying inclusive, but in terms of the actual practicality, putting in place measures and systems to make sure that that learning system is inclusive, I think there is a lot that needs to be done. So based on that, we are really anxious and excited that we are moving in this direction with our colleagues from UNZA and Gross Care International to ensure that we make Zambia also catch up. As you are aware, Zambia is also a signatory and ratified the UNCRPD on ensuring inclusiveness of society to all persons with disability.
The stakeholders add that the world has many technological advancements, including machines that are able to read documents for the visually impaired, stating that these should be utilized.
Minus 4474 tilt 4.4 edit 4 tilly I 80p1/4 SK.
They have also called on government to ensure that learning materials for persons with disabilities are available from primary to tertiary level. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka. So there you have it. So that was ZAPID as well as other stakeholders talking about the need for technological devices for persons with disabilities. And so the argument really has been that we have had so many advances in the technological sector. For example, we have social media, we have all these other gadgets. And for example, in a time like this, during the time of the coronavirus, education and businesses have moved online. But then what advancements have there been for persons with disabilities? And so we have been joined by Dr. Thomas Mutonga, a disability rights advocate and lecturer for special education at the University of Zambia, to just help us discuss how do they feel, are there equal opportunities, are there equal education and employment opportunities for persons with disabilities here in Zambia. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mutonga.
Thank you so much, Zipporah, and thank you everyone, the viewers. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes.
And so really, can you just, maybe just as a preamble, can you tell us about your background and what your work, even as you've been advocating for rights for persons with disabilities?
Thank you so much. I don't know where to start from.
And also you work at UNZA, and also you work at the University of Zambia. You can just give an overview.
Okay. I think I lost my sight in 1981 at the age of 10, and then I went to a school for the blind. In fact, at the time I lost my sight, I was still at a sighted school. Then I went to a school for the blind in 1982. Then, of course, I finished my grade 12 at Katete Secondary School, and went to Nkrumah Teachers College. That time Nkrumah was training only secondary school teachers. Then I went to teach at Chizongwe Technical High School in Chipata, which is a school for the able-bodied children. Then I came to the University of Zambia for my undergraduate. After which I was called as a staff development fellow, meaning that I was picked having done well at undergraduate. So I've been teaching at the University of Zambia until last year when, of course, I contested for MP. Yeah, so...
which constituency again?
That was the Chasef constituency. Okay, yes. So I had to go on separation with the University of Zambia for some time. This time I've been reinstated on a part-time lecturing basis. So I'm not yet full-time. I hope management will think about it, that I should be reinstated full-time. Otherwise, I think that's what I can say. Of course, at the university, I've been teaching, let me say, yes, special education courses. That is learners with visual impairments, courses on working with parents of children with disabilities, research programs, and even training master's students. I think that's what I can say, meanwhile.
You've mentioned about you contesting for MP,
yes,
Member of Parliament.
Yes.
And the political scene really in Zambia is quite something that is tense in terms of just vying for positions.
Yes.
Really, what has been your political experience in as far as equality is concerned?
Oh, a mouthful.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, the people with disabilities in the country do not have opportunities even for them to be able to contest, because the landscape is so competitive. And you know, it honestly, one, requires a lot of resources. But secondly, there are a lot of myths and beliefs about persons with disabilities, to an extent that even the electorates ask questions: how can a person with a disability represent us? And that becomes an issue, because if they go with that thinking in the ballot box, obviously it's possible to change their minds when they are already in the booth, because the issues are that traditionally we have been known to, we know that people with disabilities cannot do. They cannot be able to lead others. They cannot probably work. They cannot read. So, and you know, for instance, Chasefu is a rural constituency. So you have to deal with that thinking. You have to deal with those beliefs and those myths. And that obviously has an impact on equality. Because already, just like I've said, that the issue of resources, you know that people with disabilities are the poorest. Most of the people with disabilities are the poorest. And so to find those resources, to be able to stand, it's really a challenge. So the issues of equality are compromised because of some of those issues.
And then maybe going forward, are you of the view that even persons with disabilities should actually be requested to retire, maybe, for example, if they're civil servants, given the fact that already there are few opportunities for persons with disabilities? For example, in your situation now, you're now struggling to go back to the University of Zambia. Do you feel maybe there should be some changes given the few opportunities that are already there?
I really wish there were exceptions. Just like we say that, for instance, the Electoral Commission of Zambia has put exceptions. If a person with a disability wants to stand, he doesn't pay the same amount like everybody else. I think that is a good way of encouraging people with disabilities in Zambia to be able to, you know, participate in politics.
Indeed.
Yeah, but because from the time Zambia became independent, we have not had, for instance, blind individuals going to parliament on a competitive ground. If you remember Lazarus Tembo in the late 80s, he was just nominated and appointed by President Kaunda. Then there was also Koloweka from Nyimba. He was also blind. With him, He was appointed and is, put forward to the people to be elected. And you remember that was a one-party participatory democracy. So they had to follow what the president was saying. In this age, in the multi-party system, there is no blind person who has ever tried to stand for MP. Now, that's why I'm saying that maybe we needed exceptions if we needed to encourage people with disabilities to participate in politics. And some of those exceptions maybe could include the issues of work, because, for instance, the way it has happened to me, it's so bad. At the end of the day, even if I'm really qualified, which other institution, will think that we can pick Mtonga to come and work here? Because the able-bodied individuals will be able to do pieceworks and all those things. But in my case, I have limitations where I can go.
Indeed,
so,
we'll continue with our conversation, and do join us by calling us through the numbers that are scrolling on your screens. And also on Facebook, we are live. You can actually drop your comments in the comment section, and we'll be able to actually review them. Right about now, we'll just go for a short break, and we'll come back. We'll be able to continue with our conversation with Dr. Mtonga. Stay tuned.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back to our breakfast show, and indeed we're having a discussion with Dr. Mtonga on who's actually the disability rights advocate. And the question today is, are there equal education and employment opportunities for persons with disabilities? And you can add your thought in terms of that, and also like we already said, we are live on Facebook, and you can also drop your comment right there so that we can be able to interact in that format. So right here, Dr. Mutonga, we are seeing a bit of activity on our table here, which has never happened before. Yes, so quite interesting. And talking of technology, you've gone really a step further in your field to actually provide certain accessories that can be used by persons living with disabilities. Maybe just to have a background of how we reached this far in terms of technology. Yes.
Yes, and also maybe just to add about the opportunities that are currently there in Zambia in the view that we've had maybe social media advancements for able people, and then now what about for persons with disabilities? Is that the same situation? Can you just give us a picture, for example, in the education sector, especially now that we're looking at issues of the coronavirus? So you just start from there and then talk about what opportunities that are now there today and the way forward. Yes.
Beautiful. Now, you know that the education for learners with disabilities in Zambia and worldwide is honestly so challenging. The major challenges include that you have to do the methodological aspect by the teacher, but there is also need for the learner to acquire that knowledge. And this is where the challenge is for learners with visual impairments, you know, the blind and the low vision, and then also the deaf. These others, like the physically disabled, most of them may only need infrastructural adjustments. Okay, but for these two, the blind and the hearing impaired, may need a lot of methodological changes. Now, having been, of course, being a blind person myself, I think I've reached this far because of what is called assistive technology. Just to share with you, when I went to Nkrumah, I was the only blind person at that time at Nkrumah. And I was using Braille. You know Braille, eh?
Yes.
Yes, the writing for the blind.
Yeah.
And the lecturers sat down. They said, no, we cannot read his Braille. And he cannot read our ink print. So why are we keeping him here? Let him go to, at that time there was Marco Moffat, which was handling students with visual impairments. So let him go to Marco Moffat. And I didn't want to go to Marco Moffat. Then I said, now this is a challenge because really these people cannot read my Braille. So I told them, can you give me a typewriter and I'll learn how to use a typewriter. You know a typewriter?
Indeed.
Those typewriters, yes, which can type ink. And it does not give you any feedback as a blind person. So I would be typing by faith because you know
that this is what I'm typing.
You are not reading what you are typing, but you believe that you are typing something. And it was really marvelous because with my typing, I managed to get a merit from Nkrumah.
Wow.
Now, they allowed me to stay because of that. And I realized that even when I came to the University of Zambia, I also had the same challenge. Lecturers didn't know Braille. And I couldn't read their ink print. Until one man, the Father Chikoya, the Secretary General for CCZ, he was the chaplain that time. He said, Tonga, don't we have technology that can help people like yourselves, to acquire education? I said, I have not come across anything, but I hear there are computers which can speak. Okay? And that's how we connected to a friend in Britain. And that friend sent us a software and the computer. And my computer started speaking. And then I would navigate and all those, except that I didn't bring the laptop here. Otherwise, that's what has helped me even to be able to teach at the University of Zambia, it's that computer. Now, that's what we call assistive technology. Assistive technology is simply, the use of gadgets or devices that increase on the performance or intervene in the challenges that a person has in order to help him perform a particular task. So, for instance, I am blind, and the issue of marking students, it means I always need someone to read for me what the students have written. The issue of me preparing maybe notes, it means I needed somebody to write for me. But assistive technology has helped. The use of a computer fitted with what we call screen reader. Okay, the computer is speaking to me, and I'm able to navigate, I'm able to receive emails, I'm able to write on my own. That has eliminated the human interface. Okay, instead of me depending on Zipporah, instead of me depending on Andrew, I now can do things on my own. Okay. And that's independent living. So I can give my students work using my computer. I print for them, they are able to read, and I tell them, for you to give me back your assignment, can you email me? And then they email, I'm able to read and mark their work. So that's assistive technology. And most of the students with visual impairments that have been coming to the University of Zambia, I've been telling them, for you to excel here, you need at least a computer fitted with speech. It should be able to speak. Now, apart from that, there are these gadgets. Okay? These gadgets, I managed to bring these because I wanted to just show the people. This one, I hope they can see it.
Yes, they can.
Yeah, this one is called the Braille Not Touch. Now, the Braille Not Touch is another gadget, a computer on its own, which actually performs wonders. The wonder that it performs is that you can see it has some buttons here.
Yes, I can see
some. There are 6 buttons.
Yes.
Yes. These 6 buttons represent
about 8.
Okay, yes, if you include these.
Yes.
And you include
space, something looks like a space.
Exactly, this is space button.
Yeah.
Yes, but these, the major ones are these 6 here.
Okay.
Okay. Now these 6 represent the cell in Braille, because in Braille we use 6 dots to write letters, and the 6 dots, when you combine dot 1 and dot 2, it gives you B. When you combine dot 1 and dot 4, it gives you C. Now, they said this Braille, when you write using a small machine called a hand frame, it takes too long and it's quite tiresome. So they came up with this machine now, so that you can type on this one the same cells you write on a hand frame. Now, the good thing about this gadget is that when I'm writing Braille, it's showing in ink.
Okay.
Okay? It's showing in ink. Let me just show you where it will be showing. Okay. You can see this screen here.
Screen,
yes. So here, down here, I'll be reading in Braille. You will be reading in ink.
Oh, great.
Exactly.
Great. I see the logic. Both of us, we are benefiting at the end of the day.
Exactly. That overcomes our communication challenge then. Because if I write Braille for you, you will not be able to read. If you write ink for me, I will not be able to read. So this machine brings us together.
Wow.
And then, apart from that, you know, there are blind children who are so used to Braille, and you cannot remove them from Braille, even using the soft copies. So this machine covers their braille. Even if you write an email in ink, you send it to me. When it comes to this machine, the email will be converted into braille. And I'll be able to read your email in braille. If I write here, I write an email to you in braille, I will send it to you and you will receive it in ink.
Wow.
Exactly. So that's what this braille not touch does, and it removes the issue of inclusive education. For instance, we are talking about inclusive education in Zambia. We need machines like this in inclusive schools, because if a blind child, I remember 1 year ago, the Leonard Cheshire were running an inclusive education in the Eastern Province, and they kept asking me, we have learners with visual impairments in schools, what can we do for them, you know, to be able to communicate with their teachers? And I was saying, we need a machine like this one, which should be able to translate braille into ink, so a child can do an exercise in braille. The teacher will be able to read it in ink, and he should be able to mark. And it can print ink, it can also print braille.
Great.
Exactly.
So if, maybe someone is watching out there and they're looking at this and they're like, wow, this is quite impressive.
Yes.
How much can they afford, like for an ordinary citizen, those who might be having sight challenges?
Yeah, of course, you know, most of these gadgets for persons with disabilities are really on the higher side. Yeah, but maybe...
So there's need for government to come through for...
Exactly.
Maybe subsidize the prices, isn't it?
One, government should subsidize, but and apparently, you know, most of the people with disabilities come from poverty-stricken homes. And unfortunately, that's the real truth on the ground, because the fact that someone becomes disabled, it means that probably they were not able to find medical fees and all those things. So government should honestly get involved.
Yeah. Because I mean, this is quite a step forward in terms of us just improving on our quest to inclusiveness.
Yes, yes.
So basically, why can't we just reach at this stage where we need to do this? I mean, how much advocacy are you doing to push for this kind of accessories?
Of course, I know that the DPOs, the Disabled People's Organizations, and Zambia Agents for Persons with Disabilities, probably they have been trying to push for this. But you know, it's one thing to really push, it's another thing to implement. Apparently, I'm quite sad that maybe as Zambia, we have not done a lot to support the education of learners with disabilities. Apparently, most of the schools for learners with visual impairments do not have these assistive technologies. And that's why the failure rate is quite high. Because, for instance, they don't have reading materials in Braille. They don't have, they cannot do a lot of things. They cannot acquire a lot of information. You know, this time there is internet, which is a virtual space library, and they cannot access internet. So when it comes to advocacy, a lot of advocacy has been done, but you know that at the Ministry of Education, we don't have a directorate that looks at children with disabilities specifically. Our colleagues in Malawi, they have an inclusive education directorate, which looks at the welfare of all children, but specifically the marginalized. And in the sub-region, That's the trend. But in Zambia, we have been hesitant to do that. So the officials that represent issues of special education, inclusive education at ministry level, at that high level, are so junior that they cannot make decisions. So the people at the topmost, who may not really understand the issues that affect children with disabilities, are the ones who would make decisions. So if you take someone who does not really understand issues of disability, imagine that this person already has a subconscious mind that people with disabilities cannot do anything. Can he make any meaningful decision for them? No, he will not, because he thinks that people with disabilities cannot manage to do this. So for a long time, materials for children with disabilities have really run short. Even in things like Braille paper, you may not find it in schools. So that has been really a challenge. And so when we came up with this idea to demonstrate on the usage of assistive technology to people in Zambia, we are thinking that the Ministry of Education, obviously someone who must be watching, someone using you, the people in the media, you must be able to speak to them. You are our advocate partners. To speak to the ministries or government that we must be able to purchase these gadgets in order to make learning easy for learners with visual impairments. For instance, this gadget here.
I can see another one.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
This gadget here, you can hear, this gadget is called the iPod Solo. And it's so helpful to me because what you do with this machine is that if you write, you give me a hard copy document. Okay? Like, oh yeah, this paper.
Yeah, so there's printed this side.
Okay.
Yes, it's printed this side.
What is written here?
There's Camnet TV top saying show.
Correct. So imagine you are not there. Okay, and I need to read what is on this. I don't need to start calling people. What about if it's some girlfriend who has written me?
Oh yeah, I see. Private issues. Yeah, confidentiality.
Oh yes, confidentiality. Even if it's not a girlfriend, imagine information has come from some very maybe secret press, and I need to read this. So this machine will help me do the reading of this information here.
Indeed.
On my own.
Dr. Mtonga, put it there. I'm curious. I'm waiting for you to put it.
Yes, I wanted to speak.
No, it should be this side.
Okay.
This
no,
side.
I want the machine to speak.
Okay. Or it should speak?
Yeah, it should tell me that it's ready. And maybe it's afraid of Camnet. Yeah. So I'll be able to put this paper there.
Okay.
Then it will read for me. And when it reads for me, I can save that information on the flash and be able to read it anytime.
Okay.
Why is it not coming on?
We place here.
Please place your document.
Okay.
Oh, great, great.
That you have read what it's saying. Please press your document.
Yes.
So I'm putting it there. Oh, is the camera? Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure.
Is that how it's supposed to be? So it should face upward?
Yeah, yeah.
Face the camera, okay.
Yeah. The camera is not acting up. Is it connected down here? Okay. Yeah, it is.
It is connected.
Okay, so Dr.
Okay,
Mtonga,
so can we have some assistance from one of our colleagues?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so Maybe it was not connected properly. Okay, so we just...
okay, let's try again.
Yeah. No, it's not responding.
I'm sure you can just see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can see, madam, as we help us navigate.
Okay, so really, as we
situation.
wait for it to get ready, doctor.
Yes.
So how is the current situation right now? Maybe like for primary schools, secondary schools, and university. Is there consistency in availability of maybe special tools for learning for persons with disabilities?
Now, to be very sincere with you, not really all the materials. Just like I was saying, that most of these gadgets are not there. For instance, most of the books are in ink. Now we are talking about the blind because the blind are the most vulnerable in terms of education acquisition, because most of the things are done in ink. So the ink print materials which are sent to schools for the blind, they will depend on the teacher to translate that into Braille. Now, you cannot translate, for instance, or transcribe a book, a 400-page book, into Braille. You are going to fill this whole room in Braille, and what time do you really have to do that? So, gadgets like this, you can just scan the whole book using this gadget, the iPosolo. And then it will convert what you have scanned into audio and into soft copy in Word. And when you have that, you can as well now put it in Braille, or let the students listen to the audio information. But to tell you the truth, a machine like this one, we don't have it in schools. Myself, I have it because I have been fighting for myself. And I mean, from 2013, I've been using these gadgets just to help me access information. So, to be realistic, really, these gadgets are not available in most of the schools. Even because a gadget like this one would also help a hearing impaired learner. If they are in high institutions of learning, like the University of Zambia, or Rockville University, or UNLAS, some lecturers only believe in dictation. He can go and put his paper on this machine, and then put a projector behind. And the deaf student will be able to read what he is dictating to the others. So you can see that it's a host of issues that it handles.
So in part to the government, in terms of investing in this, what are some of the economical benefits of actually getting us this equipment?
Beautiful. You have asked a very powerful question. Indeed. The economical benefits are that we are saying, according to the Sustainable Development Goals, leave no one behind. If you leave the 2 million disabled individuals behind, it means that your economy is basically affected. Okay? Because the 2 million, you needed to account for them. So, when you do not have gadgets like this, the learning of children and students with disabilities is heavily affected. They will not learn. They will not acquire education. Now, if they don't acquire education, it means they will never be employed. Okay? And if they are not employed, then they will become a burden to society. And you can imagine that means that they live in abject poverty throughout their lives. And that will affect the GDP at the end of the day. Because if you have 2 million people who are affected, they cannot get employed. Already the government is advertising, I think they're advertising for teachers.
For teachers, yes.
Yeah. If students with disabilities, if people with disabilities cannot go to tertiary education to be trained as teachers, then where do they work? What do they do in their lives? They will remain beggars in the streets, you know? And when they remain beggars in the streets, that's shameful. And that is an effect on the economy. So when you leave people with disabilities behind, you don't empower them, then you can be very sure that that will have an economic depression on the part of government. Apparently, these gadgets help on the employability of persons with disabilities. The reason most of the companies in Zambia, for instance, cannot employ persons with disabilities is because they think, how are they going to interface with the other workers? How are they going to interface with the materials at work? So when you have these gadgets, then you can honestly work with any organization. You know, in Zimbabwe, our colleagues closer here, our neighboring country, they began investing in assistive technology for learners with disabilities a long time ago. And this time, they have 11 blind lawyers and even a judge who is blind.
Wow.
My students at the University of Zambia refuse to do law. Why? Because they don't have gadgets that can help them. You know, law requires a lot of writing. And it, you know, you really need to, now if you have to do a lot of writing in Braille, when are you going to finish? Because Braille creates a lot of disadvantage for you. So here in Zambia, we don't have any lawyer. Of course, I did law myself at the University of Leeds. But you can imagine, I had to go and do it elsewhere, not here. So all those issues create employability challenges. In other countries, people with disabilities, people with hearing impairments, people with visual impairments can be found working in the banks, can be found working in any ministry. But here, it's only teaching that most of the people can do. So in the 70s and 80s, when we had the UNIP government, a lot had been invested in the education of learners with disabilities. And that's why we find the old, you know, the old guns in the likes of Mr. Ngwale, okay? They got their education in those days because the government was sponsoring their access to materials. And that's what helped them acquire education. So this time, we honestly need government to step in and help the learners with visual impairments, with hearing impairments, to acquire this education. So, go ahead, ladies first.
Maybe if you talk about libraries in universities,
yes,
what's the situation in terms of do we have books written in Braille in these public University of Zambia? So what does that mean for persons with disabilities?
You know, even when I was doing my undergraduate at the University of Zambia, I never went to the university library because what am I going to find? Of course, they have made improvements now because most of the books are online. So meaning that if a blind student wants to read, if he is computer literate, then he can read online, but not finding Braille books. And that's why we needed a gadget like this one. For instance, in the university libraries, not just the University of Zambia, all the public universities and private universities. They need a gadget like this one, where a blind person can go into the library and get a book, okay, press it here, and he should be able to read what the book is saying on his own without actually depending on any other person. Because this machine speaks, he can just put headsets here and he's reading on his own what the information, whatever the information is. He can even save it on his USB flash. So to answer your question, in almost all the libraries, public and private libraries, you cannot easily find Braille books. If you find any Braille book, then it may not be related to the topic that you are looking for. Most of the books have been coming from Europe, and you know, they may just be stories, Jean kills John, and not really to talk about issues that are pertinent to your study as at now.
I'm just thinking of this machine. And
Yes.
you know, last year we had in Zambia our general election in August 12.
Yes.
And can this equipment be used also for elections? We've had commentaries in terms of having assistant personnel who go and help people who are visually impaired. And that compromises the transparency and also the confidentiality of
Correct.
the persons.
Correct.
Because we talk of secret vote,
Correct.
secret ballot.
Correct.
How do we ensure that we can reach to this stage where such equipment can be used even in the electoral process?
You are really thinking. You are really thinking. I can assure you, you have also given me an idea. And it's true, this machine can be used in the electoral process. How? Because, you know, you can put a ballot paper here, and then it reads for you the candidates who are standing. And then you can use this button here, this button, okay, to go forward or read backwards. There is even a mouse, this mouse, okay? The mouse, you can go up, go down, or read the center, okay? So when it reads what is there, you just put a tick on that one.
Wow.
I hope you put a tick on me.
Yes. So
the probability that you can just be alone in a booth and do all the rest and you come out.
Yes.
It's like
No, you see you saying it's here.
No.
It's here when it's there. I want you to put somewhere else.
You see that because I know that a lot of people with vision impairment are cheated when it comes to elections. It happened in 2001. We were having our own elections as blind individuals, and we were using sighted guides to show us where where to tick. And most of us voted for particular people, but they were directing us elsewhere, you know.
Oh,
and then when the results
how did
came
you
out,
find out that
The person who the ballot was place and they were high.
Yeah.
What person?
And you know, we would ask ourselves, who voted for that one? And someone came to tell us, he said, no, actually, there was a deal with the sighted guide. So they were taking you, they would ask you, there are people here, Thomas, John, and Peter. So who do you want to vote for? No, John. Then he just ticks on Thomas.
That's a better deal.
So with such new technologies, that will actually prevent such incidences from happening.
Correct.
And to be able to exercise your right to vote.
Exactly. And I really want to thank you because, you know, I've always just been looking at this gadget from the educational point of view. But I think we need to encourage Electoral Commission of Zambia to purchase these. Not the way they did it last year, where they put Braille jackets in all the 12 and the polling stations. I think now they need to identify blind individuals and their polling stations, so that they don't need to put all these in all the 12,000 polling stations. They just need to put it where they are blind voters.
From the records they have.
Exactly.
They have
because you remember, like, the registration that we were doing in 2020, there was even a question where you needed to indicate your disability. And that we thought that would help them to tell where people with disabilities were found, which polling stations, and so that they allocate materials according to the voter register. But of course they didn't do that. They put ballot Braille jackets in all the 12,000 polling stations, and the Braille jackets are not even helpful, because what they do is that, for you remember, we had 19 candidates for presidents, and they just put numbers: 1 HH, 2 Edgar Lungu, 3. Now the names are not there; they are just numbers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now how do you know that this is John, this is HH, this is? How do you know? Just numbers. And even if you are told, no, memorize this, 1 is HH, 2 is... How do you memorize 19 candidates?
Great one. So you've talked about these accessories, and also I'm curious of that one at the far end.
Yes.
Yes. What job does it really do?
Yes, this is a Victor reader. A Victor reader, I will just explain. The Victor reader is something that can be used by blind individuals. You know, we were just talking about Braille, that Braille is challenging. So the Victor reader does recording. So if here is a blind individual who goes into a lecture room and does not need to do the note taking, he can use this gadget to record what the lecturer is saying.
Wow. So it's possible, even they can even be maybe a journalist like me.
Oh yes, yes, even a journalist. Yes, yes. Oh, good. You are really thinking. And you know, the recording of this machine is so perfect. It's so good, because apart from recording, you can play audio books.
Oh, okay.
Yes, there are books. For instance, if you transcribed your books into audio using this machine, and you have saved your books on audio, you just put it here, slot it on. There is a slot where you can put your card. Where is the? Yeah, here.
Okay.
Yes, you can put your card here, and then it will be able to read for you the books. You can select which book you want to read. You can select which chapter you want it to read. All those things. So this machine will be able to do for you, and it's called Victor Reader.
No, great.
Okay. Exactly.
As we even conclude, Zipporah.
Yes, and so Doc, maybe in your concluding remarks, what other challenges do you feel should be addressed? Which other challenges a person with disabilities facing, even as we conclude?
We are already concluding.
We're already concluding. We're out of time, unfortunately.
That's serious.
Yes.
First of all, let me first of all talk about COVID. You know, COVID has come, and people with disabilities are the most affected, because you can see that, for instance, the golden rule of social distance is very difficult for blind people to keep, because I will need the sighted guide. So I don't know where the sighted guide has come from. Even for someone with physical disabilities, he needs someone to push the wheelchair. Even someone with HI, he needs a sign language interpreter. So social distancing becomes a challenge. And so that's why, apart from what I'm doing at assistive technology for learners with disabilities, encouraging the nation to get these items, I'm also a goodwill ambassador on the COVID vaccination. And I'm encouraging persons with disabilities to get vaccinated. You know, 3 weeks ago, the South African researchers released the information that COVID has claimed, according to the global network, COVID has claimed more than 6 million people, the lives of 6 million people. But from their data, they said a lot of cases have not been reported. And that meant that the total death toll for on COVID has gone to about 18 million people. Now, I know that a good number of people with disabilities may be among theirs, because most of the people with disabilities are found in rural areas, unfortunately. And when they fall sick, who takes them to health centers? And most of them, I have seen it on the ground, they don't even have mobility gadgets. So that is really a challenge for most of the people with disabilities. But apart from that now, and that's why we are pushing for education, that if people with disabilities can acquire education, appropriate education, for in that case, appropriate education, because most of the learners with disabilities just end in grade 7. Okay? And you are able to see that even from the statistical bulletin of the Ministry of Education, where you have a huge number of attendees at primary and very few, extremely very few, at secondary school. Now, the reason is that the challenges that these learners encounter, just for them to move from grade 1 to grade 7.
Maybe under a second, Doc, just to conclude, we are at that time where we need to say goodbyes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
please.
So the challenges that people with disabilities are encountering can only be solved if government stepped in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc, for this. I've actually enjoyed what was going on here.
Yes.
From this device to the other one there.
Yes.
And we hope that the best will come out of this seed that you are planting today.
Please.
Sephora.
Yes, and so this is where we have to say goodbye. Earlier,
Can you call me again?
We are going to call you definitely. We're going to call you next time again. Just come and explain more on the same issue. And
Thank
so
you.
for us, for today, that's all. Earlier we're talking about the increase in bus fares, and now we're talking about employment and education opportunities for persons with disabilities. From Alex and I, it's good morning, but do join Patrick Soko and Sharon Kalimbula tomorrow as they take you into politics. Good morning.
Thank you.